Our next keynote is why Land's End is embracing Gen X. In an industry that is obsessed with younger customers, Land's End has embraced Gen X, the Gen X consumer, and built an experience to really cultivate their loyalty. To tell us more about this strategy, we're joined by a longtime friend of Commerce Next, Sarah Rasmusen, Chief Customer Officer at Land's End. Many of you know Sarah. I know she's a familiar face around here. She's been pioneering digital retail and e-commerce at companies like Kohl's, Saks, Bloomingdale's before rejoining Land's End. It is with great pleasure that I welcome Sarah to the Commerce Next IRL stage.
All right, hello everyone. Thanks for having me here today. My name is Sarah Rasmusen, and I am the Chief Customer Officer for Land's End. So before we dive in, I'm gonna, no easy ways to put my bottle of water. Before we dive in, let's just jump to a little survey for the room. Okay, so human social experiment. How many of you in the crowd identify as Gen X? And this means you were born between 1965 and 1980. Oh, I saw another hand. Like, I'm not Gen X. Oh, I was born then. Okay, so I am Gen X. Okay, and if you're on the higher side of that, because some millennials cross over, generally the rule of thumb is if you do not know who Fonzie is, you are not Gen X. Okay? So, all right, so now let's shout out your answers. What are some words that are typically used to describe Generation X or have been in the past? Slackers. Pardon? Latchkey Kids. Apathetic. Cynics. Pardon? Self-reliant, right? That's with Latchkey Kids. We were the kids who had to figure it out on our own, right? When COVID came and hit, we're like, no problem. I'm very happy by myself. Right? But, as cue back to our 20s, I would say advertisers even then were slow to embrace Gen X as a attractive market to advertise to. But somewhere along the line, some advertisers began to take notice. And so if you come with me, we'll take a little look back in the Wayback Machine. Sorry, click, click. Think different. Who remembers this one? Right? So really, what happened here is as Apple developed this campaign in I think, 93 it launched, all of a sudden Gen X was like, oh, this is talking to me. Listen to the ad copy for Think Different. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify them, or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius, because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. And in 1993, in the mid-90s, who thought they could change the world? That guy right there, Gen X, right? This spoke to us. This really, spoke. It kind of woke up our soul. And all of a sudden, Gen X was truly a part of the zeitgeist. We didn't get credit for it, but we were trying to change the world. Let's take a look at a couple more. Who remembers this one? Anybody collect these? Collect ads, like Absolute ads and Gap ads, and pen to your dorm wall? Right. So the Gap campaign of the 90s, what that was a focus for, again, focusing on Gen X, was how can we make khakis cool? Right? Grunge was really how we dressed, and we weren't really into norm looking like everybody else. But khaki campaign came along, and all of a sudden we were like, oh, Hemingway wore khakis, Audrey Hepburn wore khakis, Marilyn Monroe wore khakis. Okay, I can do this. I can dress comfortably and not too materialistically and look cool. Is it any wonder that Gen X is credited with the creation of Casual Fridays and in general the casualization of the workforce? Even then, we were looking for comfort in our lives and in our clothes. And then finally, Gen X is a little bit woke, guys. give us some credit, right? So CK1 targeted this campaign completely towards Gen Xers because we were really the first. We were the first ones who had integrated schools. We were the first ones who, sometimes with female journalism, Me Too is often credited with starting with that Gen X age group. But really, CK1 was the first ad that was ever targeted to a gender fluid market. Completely unisex. At its peak, CK1 sold 20,000 bottles a day. The top fragrance of the 90s. Quite simply, it was and still is the fragrance for everyone. But guess what, guys? They still target ads, they still make ads for Generation X. Let's take a look.
People today, they could spend half their lives over 50. That's a lot of living. So it helps to have a wise friend and fierce defender in your corner. A friend like AARP. So your health lives longer.
This is just slow-mo karate?
Just slow-mo karate.
Your money lives longer.
I just bought that.
I just sold that.
And your happiness lives longer. That's why the younger you are, the more you need AARP. Join today.
Yep, AARP. All right, so Gen X was born between 1965 and 1980. That means half of us have received our AARP cards. Funny, not funny. To me, it is absolutely the smartest thing in the world that ARP would develop a TV campaign targeted to Gen X. They're onto something. So, true stats, adults over 50, and there are 113 million of them in the US, own 70% of the wealth, purchasing an estimated $5.6 trillion a year in goods and services. Together, boomers and Xers, let's call them Zoomers, if you will, buy more cars, spend more money on luxury travel, and own more electronics and homes than any other age group. And this marketplace will continue to dominate. Sometime over the next 2 decades, the population of people in the United States over 65 will be larger than children under 18 for the first time in US history. Sorry, some little clicking. A funny thing happened on the way to 50. Gen X became the undetected influencers of both the younger and the older generations. And we didn't get there by slacking. I love this quote because it really framed up for me exactly how I feel about my own wealth, right? The moment they come to this, still are sparkling, oh, sparkling. And another bottle, sure, I'll do it. What does this quote also say? Gen Xers are what? Particular. Consumers. Consumers of higher end goods. They want to live, they're ready to start loving and enjoying life. They've made it through to the other side and they're ready to start living. So quite frankly, from where I sit, your view of Gen X is getting old, right? 28% of the population, 30% of the wealth, 27% of the buying power in the United States. They spend minimally 3 hours a day on their phone, much of that time on social media, and commonly referred to as the sandwich generation, they're caring for elderly parents, and the kids haven't quite flown the coop, so they're taking care of them as well. Why is this important to marketers? I'll tell you why it's important to Land's End. Let's take a quick look at the Land's End customer. Our core customer is over 55, which is actually just in line with the average age of the US shopper. She is, I'm going to say, about 80% female, so I will be using, when I talk about Land's End, I will be using the pronouns she and her throughout because she is decidedly female. She's married, the kids are at home. They may not necessarily be her kids, but they're at home. Very college educated, high HHI, loves family. Which is interesting given Gen X, right? The Latchkey Kids, how much they value family, right? Pets, gardening, cooking, light exercise. We call her active-ish, active adjacent, right? A good walk, Some good yoga, just like you saw in that ad. That's our Gen X lady. She is very, very Land's End loyal. We talk about, oops, sorry, go by, there she is. Sorry, she is very, very Land's End loyal. Like I said, she loves family and friends, craves comfort, and we talked some about lifetime value already today, exhibits marvelous lifetime value to Land's End. Think about it. If that average age of the population is 65 plus, has outpaced the younger generation, and I meet a customer at 45, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. She loves social media. Like I said, she's on her phone a bunch, and most of that time is on social media. The number one social media channel for Gen Xers or our Zoomers is what? Facebook. No. Instagram. No. TikTok. No. YouTube. Number 2, Facebook. Number 3, Pinterest. There you go. Nobody ever gets that. Pinterest. She uses Pinterest more than Instagram. Now that is changing. Those are running neck and neck, especially since Facebook has really pushed the platform onto Instagram. But Pinterest, she loves. She loves planning. She's planning way out. She's got the Christmas PJ lookbook all put together. She's done that in July, right? So she really, really loves it. All right, social media, and then family matters, right? So she is planning for her family. We talk about Gen X as the sandwich generation. She is still working full time. Mom and dad have many times moved home, and the kids haven't left yet. She is busy, very, very busy. We talk about her, again, she was surprised that she was the latchkey kid, that she just values that time with family so, so much. And as a result, I don't feel it's hyperbole to say that Gen X is the glue of the modern family today. Instead of downsizing as they age, many Gen Xers are not buying smaller homes. They are upsizing to accommodate these extended families. And finally, simply put, it's a marvelous time to be in the elastic waist pant business. I have my elastic waist pant jeans on right now. Fully Land's End, by the way. It is a very, very happy coincidence that at Land's End, we landed the slogan of "Let's get comfy" in January of 2020. The quarantine 15 is real, folks. And as a brand, we could not be better positioned during COVID times than to have an apparel assortment that gave the customer exactly what she was looking for. Comfy, comfy, comfy. And let's not forget something else very, very important about this customer, what's going on in her life right now, which is what? Something very personal to her. Menopause. Don't ignore menopause. It is absolutely critical. It is what is happening in this life. It's how she's living her life. It controls how she sleeps. It controls how she feels day in and day out. She's getting hot, cold, hot, cold. And again, an assortment of comfy clothing makes her life easier. And that is what we need to do. So it's not all about the creature comforts. Again, we have to make her life easier. And over COVID, our lady isn't, I'd say, she's, I don't know, we're not really innovative. She's not really, first and foremost out there. I'd call her and I wouldn't even really call her a fast follower. I'd call her she got there. Right? She got there out of necessity, but again, it was to make her life easier. Wizmo has become the number one call or chat disposition to our contact center. Where it used to be sales, now it's Wizmo. Wizmo stands for, where is my order? Sometimes at holiday it becomes WizMFO. Flexible payment options we've started to adopt. PayPal has always been very popular with the Land's End customer. We adopted their credit program and even adopted Venmo, because how does our customer pay her kids? Zelle, but Venmo. I can do Braintree integration faster with Venmo. So again, she sees that at checkout. Oh, they take Venmo? Okay, marvelous for customer acquisition. As you get that customer in through a PLA, and she comes straight through, and she can check out, zoom, 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 zoom. So she's there. And then personal security and privacy. She's finding her way. She's not quite sure what she should be concerned about and what she shouldn't be concerned about. Thus, it is Lands' End's job to advocate for her. So, what's important to the Lands' End customer? We need to take care of service what she wants. Again, we're here to make her life more comfortable, here to make her life easier. But my advice to you, as you consider, what's important to Lands' End, but what's important to your market as you go to market, is one, please, please, please understand the data with consumer data and insights. I've had to shoot down more, I'm going to say, merchant gut in the last 2 years than I care to. And merchant gut is really, really valuable. But at the same time, we have to use every single bit of data we get to optimize a marketing dollar, a marketing spend to our customer. Meet the audience where they are. I'm as surprised about YouTube as anyone, but I'll say more and more frequently, I hear my friends say, I YouTubed it, right? So where does Lands' End need to be? Where she is. Yes, we have a TikTok channel. Don't go to it. Or don't judge me by it. Yes, we have TikTok. We can't ignore marketing channels as they develop, but again, where does our dollar need to go? Where the customer is. Beware shiny objects. I'm not going to call TikTok a shiny object, but to our customer right now it is. Again, we talk about that she gets there, right? For me to push out the latest tech innovation at her would have a tough land, right? Until she's ready for it. As we eased into payment options, right? She loved PayPal. That meant we could push into PayPal Credit and Pay in 4 and Venmo because she had decided, she told us she was ready for it, and we were there when she was. Oops, back please, sorry. And then finally, prioritize your high value audiences. And this again is, we don't market to a generation. I mean, that's a dumb way to spend my marketing dollar, right? We don't market to generations, we market to behaviors, we market to lookalikes. Do these behaviors tend to fall in a Gen X view? Yes. Have we decided that a Gen X customer, acquiring a Gen X customer is highly valuable to Lands' End for the long term? Yes. But again, it's the behaviors, it's the high value behaviors we target, not some big, broad kind of spray and pray method. So, while we were sitting there calling Gen X the slackers, they ever so slowly crept up on us as joining the C-suite. They became your friends, your closest friends. They are the money makers and the spenders. We may not want to scream out attention and look at me, but again, along the way, we became major influencers of how the US consumer spends. So I ask, can you think different? Don't forget about Gen X, because Lands' End will not. Thank you.